So, before we do this, I want to address the elephant in the room. I just got my first Funko Pop, which you probably can't really see. Here she is. I'm not gonna start collecting them or anything, I'm just a big fan of Suki. I mean, how can you not be? Hello there, I'm Judith, welcome to my channel. Today's topic is the best character in all of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm talking about the leader of the Kyoshi warriors, Suki. I'm a fan of Suki. The thing is, she often gets left out by the fandom. When you see fan art of the gang, that's gang with double A, that's what we call the crew around Avatar Aang, about half of the time it's only 5 people. Aang, Katara, Sokka, Toph and Zuko. And that's just wrong, you know? I mean, Suki is a true member of the gang. So I'm gonna spend this entire video telling you why she should be included. Obviously, this is just my opinion. And if you make fan art of the gang without Suki, go for it. I suppose the reason people tend to forget her is because she's also the leader of the Kyoshi warriors. And as such, she spends most of the time away from the gang, doing other things. It's not until like halfway through book 3 that she really joins the team. Here's the thing though, that's also the case for Zuko. I mean, yes, Zuko is a big character, and he's in the show a lot more, but he's also the bad guy for most of it. Or at least not at all a member of the gang. He joins not long before Suki does. And yet, Zuko is usually there, and Suki isn't. I'm not saying Zuko shouldn't be considered a true member of the gang either. In fact, he definitely should be. I am saying that Suki should be considered at least an equally true member, if not more. I say more because I think there's a case to be made for Suki being a more integral part of the team, at least during the final clash. Hear me out. I think we can agree that at that point, all 6 of them are part of the gang, right? They were the 6 people taking on the missions to end the 100-Year War. If ever there was a team we can call the gang, it's then and it's them. Now, I'm not advocating for ranking them by how important they are to the team, but if we were to do that, Suki would be higher than Zuko. Here's why. At that point, the gang splits up into 3 groups, going on 3 different missions. Obviously, the Avatar goes to fight the big bad evil guy Ozai. Toph, Sokka and Suki go to take down the entire Fire Nation air fleet. And where are Katara and Zuko? In the Fire Capital to fight some sibling rivalry. Granted, Azula is scary and dangerous, but if you ask me which of those 2 is more important, it's taking down the fleet. Also, what Zuko did there was basically, or it was supposed to be, a one-on-one. What the other 3 did was team versus army. Not to mention that Suki actually saved Sokka and Toph by single-handedly taking down an entire airship. All I'm saying is, if I was to make a ranking of who is a more integral part of Team Avatar, Suki outranks Zuko. Of course, I'm not doing that, so let's move on. The point is that Suki is a badass who kicks butt. If you disagree, I think you might have seen a different show, because it's kinda hard to ignore. Look at her part in The Prison Escape, for example. She was a bleeping torpedo. Like, she went for it. She parkoured her way up and overpowered the director guy, without breaking a sweat. And then Ozai's Angels come along. That's what I'm calling the team of Azula, Mei and Ty Lee, because it's a great name, and it's also what the official Avatar YouTube channel calls them. The point is that Suki took on Ty Lee, and she kept up. Like, she's probably the only one in the gang who was able to stand her ground against Ty Lee. But wait, there's more. She's also the leader of the Kyoshi warriors. The Kyoshi warriors are a team of specialized badasses already, and she gets to lead them. Like, she is good. But the thing that makes that remarkable is her age. Her age is never actually confirmed, but she's young enough to be dating Sokka without it being weird. So she's probably about 15 or so. And she's already leading the Kyoshi warriors. Like, Suki is a badass. Here's the thing though. She is a badass, but in a way that doesn't sacrifice her femininity. Now, I'm not gonna go too deep into this because I don't know nearly enough about the socio-political history and all that of storytelling to get the necessary nuance of this issue. But it seems to me that a lot of strong female characters are often a walking oxymoron. Like, they're characterized by the apparent contradiction between their strength and their femininity, even though there is no actual contradiction there. The point is that Suki is definitely one of those feminine warriors that are executed very, very well. Suki actually says it best herself. In episode 4, she says, "I am a warrior, but I'm a girl too." She's not choosing, she's both. Now, I have one more point of awesomeness, but before I get to that, I want to talk a little bit about the one thing that I dislike about Suki. Like, it's literally the only thing. Suki is amazing. At least when you look at her on her own, from a character in-universe point of view. If you look at her in the bigger picture, from a narrative point of view, it is just so obvious that she was written to be a character foil for Sokka. A character foil is a character who exhibits characteristics that contrast with another character, and that way they influence our perception of that other character. And that contrast and the dynamic between those foils can also influence the plot and lead to character development. For example, in the Owl House, spoiler alert by the way, Lily and Ida are character foils for each other, because they are complete polar opposites in basically everything. But because we see Lily being quite literally the antagonist, we side with Ida, which gives her a much more positive impression than she really earned. And later on, when they are learning glyph magic, Lily's structured approach and her success not only causes Ida to try more reckless things, causing havoc, but in the end it also convinces her to properly learn Lily's way, which is a game changer. The point is that they are character foils for each other. Now back to Suki. Suki fits that description of a character foil very well, because she's a female warrior, a very good one, which contrasts with Sokka's sexist attitude at that time. And through interacting with her, he undergoes character development. Now in itself, that's not a problem. But the thing that annoys me about this is that this was clearly not an afterthought, but the very reason she was created. Suki isn't a cool character who happens to foil with Sokka. She only exists in order to foil with him. Her role in the story is to serve Sokka's character journey. She's an obvious plot device, not unlike a fridged wife is for an action hero. That is, in book 1. After that, she outgrows that role and takes on the mantle of the certified badass. Like, after the thing on Kyoshi Island, she didn't really need to be there anymore for Sokka's journey. But they brought her back anyway, and instead she takes on a much more active role. They could have easily written an alternative plot without Suki, and I'm sure it could have been equally epic. Appa didn't need to encounter the Kyoshi warriors, and they probably could have escaped the boiling rock without her. She didn't need to be there, but she was. And she was a very important part of the events. Basically, it annoys me that she was so clearly created as a plot device for Sokka. But I do think she outgrew that, and I love the badass she became. But I was holding on to one more piece of awesomeness. Consider Appa. I'm sure we all remember the episode Appa's Lost Days, right? I kinda mentioned it earlier. Well, hear me out, because it says a lot about her. This episode shows how much of a team player she is. Suki clearly realizes that she's just one player in a much bigger game, and she has zero hesitation to play her part in that game. The very fact that she's there shows that she is willing to play an active part in the war, beyond keeping her home safe. More to the point, she knows that Appa has to get back to Aang, so she immediately decides to make sure that happens. She actually says that this is probably their most important mission yet. And when they encounter Ozai's angels, not only do they stand their ground, they also work together to keep Appa safe by making a literal shield wall. I know it's a small example, but it is a good one. More importantly though, they probably realized when they encountered Ozai's angels that they wouldn't be winning this fight. But they stood their ground anyway, and chose Appa's freedom over their own. They could have made a run for it, but it wouldn't have been likely that they would have actually gotten away, but it was vital that Appa got away. So they let themselves be caught to make sure that Appa wouldn't. Like, Suki literally shooed him away, because she knew that he was much more important than any of them in the larger scheme of things. Another example of this is Ty Lee. After the war, they gave Ty Lee a place in the Kyoshi Warriors. She's probably the first person not from Kyoshi Island, or at the very least not from the Earth Kingdom, to be allowed to join them. I mean, Sokka. And probably Rangi as well. The point is that they let a former enemy join them. Not just because they bonded, though that too, but because they realized that her expertise would only make the group stronger. They didn't hold a grudge, and instead chose to innovate to make themselves even more effective. At least that's one way to read it. All I'm trying to say is that Suki is a badass, and she's the epitome of team play. And that's why I think it's a grave insult to her entire character to leave her out of group pictures. Hashtag justice for Suki. Anyway, that'll do for this video. Time for the YouTube thing. You know the drill. Everything you can do to help the channel is in the end screen right here. If you don't know what to comment, how about this? What do you think it means to be a strong but also feminine character? Or specifically a feminine warrior character? How can it be done properly? Let's talk about that down below. So yeah, thanks for watching.